What's up, guys? Evan Aldo here, taking a walk right now, and I wanted to talk about freedom. This is not going to be too much about crypto in this video, sorry guys, but stick around if you want to hear about freedom. So, freedom essentially is a few different things. So the two main parts of freedom are basically health and monetary freedom. So you kind of need both. If you have one but you don't have the other, you're not really free. Talk to anyone who's older, near death, has a disease that's going to kill them pretty soon. They would probably give every penny they had to be healthy, probably. On the other hand, if you're very healthy but you don't have a penny to your name, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. So you kind of need both, and you kind of need to balance it to a certain extent. Now, how do you really get true freedom? Well, assuming you have health, assuming you have that, you probably need to own assets. I don't really see it any other type of way aside from owning some assets. Now, you could create assets, you start a business, you could buy assets, invest in something, crypto, stock market, real estate, whatever. Gold, I don't know, anything. Assuming you do enough research on it, you should be able to get some type of return long term. Should be. But the thing about being an employee is, and the thoughts I've had a lot lately is, even the really high paid employees, even you could be say an NFL quarterback or something like that, and you still gotta follow the rules of the league. You still gotta follow what your boss tells you to do, or else you could be fired, or else you could be out. And it doesn't really matter who you are. There's rules and things. So that's why more and more, as I think about the way the world is going, the way things are changing, more and more and more rights seem to be given more to the employers, the business owners, rather than the employees. So another reason to own an asset, another reason to either create an asset, create a business, or do something. Now, obviously, pretty easier said than done to start a business, easier said than done to create an asset, easier said than done to find the right asset to buy. Now, we talk about, a lot of people in this community, a lot of people in the crypto community, especially the younger ones that made a lot of money with this, especially the younger ones who found freedom through this. A lot of them say the same thing. A lot of them say when they didn't have too much money, they visualized themselves what it would be like if they had, greater amounts of money. And that's one commonplace. And I think it kind of, when you get to that point, when you're really thinking about something, it leads you in a way where you're going to try to get it. You're going to try to find some way to get it, or at least make some type of attempt. The more you think about something, the more likely it is to happen. Now, nothing in life is 100% guaranteed. That goes without saying. But the more you're going to try to make something happen. So a lot of these people, they looked into the possibility of making a lot of money with say cryptocurrency, investing in that. Some of them did. Some of them looked into trading, went into that, and they kept thinking about the end, kept visualizing the end. That's kind of what people say is a secret in law of attraction or law of vibration. Law of vibration I've been reading about. It's actually really interesting. Kind of when you're out more in nature, you're more on a different vibrational scale, and it kind of feels different when you're say a place like this, by the river, by the river, as opposed to in the city, a different vibration. I think you should have variety. And people say, like, in terms of freedom, everyone wants to be rich, everyone wants to have all this money, but do they really, though? That's the always thing I think about. Do they say they want that, but are they actively thinking about it? Are they actively thinking about what would it feel like, what would this be like? That's the difference, I think. That's the difference in the people who succeed and the people who don't, in a lot of ways, I think. True freedom, people always say, money isn't everything. It won't necessarily, it'll solve your money problems. Like, it'll give you freedom. Obviously, you're saying freedom is everything. Like I said before, you need health too. You need to be mentally there as well. But this freedom will help you get that. You can make a lot of nice choices. You could just fly from Florida up north. You could book the flight 2 hours before and just decide to do that on a whim, just because something came up and you wanted to attend an event or something. You know what I mean? It's not your amount of freedom when you have wealth is just, it is incredible. And the more you visualize something, the more you feel like you already have something, the more likely it is to happen. Like I said before, there's always exceptions to everything. There's always things that go a little off kilter, go a little weird, but yeah, I mean, it's changing all the time. So one thing I thought about was at the Bitcoin conference in Miami, Ross Ulbricht spoke from, if you're not familiar with Ross Ulbricht, that's the Silk Road guy, and he spoke from prison, kind of about his experience with it. And he talked about, he said, I want you to know what it's like for your freedom to be taken from you. And he kind of, described how he lives in a cage, and you could kind of see how it's like made him kind of mentally ill, which I think that's probably anyone in that type of circumstance would probably get to that point. You also see kind of how he probably took a lot of the hit that whoever Satoshi Nakamoto was in going to prison and what he did. In that aspect, you do kind of think about what's going to happen with that. Well, will he ever get his freedom back? If someone like Ron Paul ever becomes president, he's too old, or maybe his son, Rand Paul now, ever becomes president. Unlikely. Pretty unlikely, given the way things are going. He'd probably get pardoned. Would anyone else pardon him? I don't know. But it's it's interesting to see kind of the changing in the anatomy, the personal freedom that crypto can bring to society as a whole. And if we get to that point where we have the technology, and that's another thing. I know I did when I was in college a project on a news report, let's say, on the Venus project, which was kind of the basic idea of that was we have the technology, we have the resources, everything is there for us to have a society where everything can be provided to everyone. And people would immediately say that's socialism. Well, I would say kind of that's the concept that the socialists kind of agree with the libertarians on, that kind of we have the ability to give everyone freedom, and freedom in a sense is food, water, healthcare, things of that nature. And we have that ability, so we think about that, and we could build the society through that. And how would you do that? You can't do that. It's never worked through giving all the power to just one entity, giving all the power to just one government. That's obviously not going to work. Having some government entity that really is, they don't really have freedom. The people carrying out these things don't really have freedom in themselves. They're just doing it because they want security. It's not going to work in that sense. It's not going to work in just giving all your freedom to the government. That's obviously not going to work. That's kind of a no-brainer. But can it work through the money of the people? Can it work through the collective argument of the people, the argument that people generally are good, that life is a positive-sum game? It's maybe a little tough to understand, kind of hard to explain, but can it work through those notions? I think it can. I think it definitely can. And I don't know if I'll post this, kind of rambling on, but it's, we always see like different things, some people, everyone has some type of thing they believe in, whether it be God, Jesus, Buddha, Allah, Muhammad, whatever you believe in. And the notion, it's all kind of something that you can't really prove, through science, but something that helps you. And more and more as I do visualization, as I study about the law of attraction, more and more I see all these kind of religions, all their main points to be towards that, and the positivity. to think about new things. So, the reason why in America we pretty much, there's no more starvation really, is because we think it's so abundant. We believe it to be abundant, and therefore it is. And it sounds kind of delusional if I just say something like that. It sounds kind of delusional. I know immediately, like, a person will be like, no, that's not really how it works, yada yada or whatever. But you can't really prove I'm wrong. It's all these open-ended questions, all these debates. You can't really prove somebody's right or wrong. And what that goes into is basically the fact that there's a lot we still don't know. It seems like we know a lot because, you could say people went to outer space. We have an immense amount of technology, but there's still a lot we don't really know about. I mean, I was reading somewhere we don't really even know how the human brain works still. We don't fully understand that. There's a lot of things we don't fully understand. Sure, people are saying, like, artificial intelligence, all of that's really getting really far, but people like the clickbait, people like the stuff like that. I mean, we're relatively far from that. I think there's still a lot we really don't know. There's still a lot that really needs to be discovered. And what you could really take away from this is you need to experiment with a lot of different things. You really need to experiment and see what works and what doesn't work in life in a lot of ways. I mean, I tried a lot of different things before I really got into this. I tried so many different things. A lot of things, went completely haywire, and I just, just realized it wasn't for me very quickly. And that's what a lot of, successful people have told me, or from what I've heard. Like, there's a lot of people that said, like, that they got out of things very, very quickly because they just knew right away, like, it just wasn't going to work. It just wasn't for them. And yeah, I think that's important. I think, typically, the notion that you just have to pick one thing when you're young and then go on it and stay with it, that's just a failed notion, because there too many things are changing. There's too many things we just don't know, where there's new opportunities coming up, every 6 months, every year. New industries. The world could look immensely different in just 10 years from now. This place I'm walking down right now, I mean, I don't know how this will look in 10 years from now. It could look relatively different. 10 years ago, I remember that this was first built, this walkway, about 10 years ago. Or maybe a little bit more, 10, 12 years ago, it doesn't matter. But it's built up even more. This building right here was not here. Things move and change and look different. Now, another thing I wanted to explain, going back to the, how to have freedom when you're younger, especially, or how to, have freedom in general, is your inputs don't equal your outputs. Now, inputs don't equal outputs. So, in factory times, people would work in a factory or whatever, inputs would equal outputs. If you're a salesperson, inputs equal outputs. You're not going to get rich. You're not going to have freedom in life just doing an input equals outputs type of position. If you sell, say, insurance, you're going to get commission based on all the insurance you sell. But maybe if you own an insurance agency, you get some leverage because you get reoccurring premiums, something like that. But if you're just a pure salesman just selling one individual thing, there's only so much you could sell in a day. You know what I mean? There's only so many products you could have leverage through the internet and sell a lot of it, do affiliate marketing, stuff like that. But you need to have your own kind of business, because if you're just selling someone else's product, you're kind of just getting them rich. You're getting them freedom. You're not getting yourself freedom. So if you start your own type of business, if you own your own assets, then you kind of have leverage. And what the internet kind of brings is unlimited amounts of leverage, because essentially with the internet, you can interact with everyone in the world. And kind of the notion for crypto, the pro-crypto notion, is crypto basically opens, banking up to everyone in the world, basically, and it's more secure. That's the two basic notions of it. You could send something, you could send someone money, wire it across the world with pretty anonymously. They wouldn't find out your routing number, wouldn't find out your checking account number, those type of things. It would be completely safe, secure in that notion. So when you get to the point where you have that type of leverage, then you really communicate with everyone. Internet's the point where we're at right now. We'll see what more and more happens with crypto, with these new developments. We'll see what happens. I think they're there's got to be a bright future. And the other thing too to really, think about here is the fact that like pretty much everything, that's what I was reading about yesterday actually, in the early days of Amazon, people thought Amazon was a Ponzi scheme. People thought a guy, selling stuff out of his garage on the internet was a Ponzi scheme. I think they even thought it when he was actually even bigger than that, when Jeff Bezos was bigger than that, people were still saying it was a Ponzi scheme, a scam. All of these things people thought were scams originally. All of these things people were hesitant on. People don't really like what's different. People don't like what's different. I remember when I was when I studied abroad in Italy, probably it's got to be at least 4 or 5 years back now, but probably 4 years back now. And I remember one of the first things like someone told me was like the Northern Italians, they don't like the Southern Italians. Southern Italians, none don't like the Sicilians. And so all these 3 areas don't really like each other. And why is that? Well, because they're different. There's not really any particular like logical reason. People just don't like new things that are different. It's like different towards what they're used to. And I feel like the people who are able to adapt and who are, I don't know what was the famous person who said that people were able to adapt, those civilizations do the best or whatever, I don't know. But the people who are able to adapt and learn new things, those are the ones who are more successful. I think if you're able to adapt, if you're able to figure out, what is the thing you need to work on at the present moment, right now, not 5 years ago, not 10 years ago, not yesterday, today, then you'll have freedom. Then you'll be able to prosper. So that's kind of what I want to wrap it up with. You kind of need leverage, to sum it up, you need leverage to really have freedom today. The way things are going, there more and more rights are going to business owners. You need to have kind of your own business, your own corporation, or something in that aspect, it seems like. That's another thing too, with government, with societal overlook, you kind of have to adapt to the way that the laws are, the way that the government is, so you don't end up in prison, and 2, find a way to keep that freedom through it and prosper in that system, because that's another thing that's going to determine how wealthy you are. Your government laws, things of that nature. And people complain about them, but I would say you can't really, you just got to find a way. You got to find a way to use the system to your advantage. You got to find a way to use that to benefit from. So if there's opportunity within that, it's just like anything else. As it changes, there's new opportunities. And if things go to a different place, if things are too bad in one place, you got to go to a different place, different country or whatever. You got to study it. You got to find out what's best for you in your type of situation. So I'll leave you guys on that. I think that's kind of the most important thing about freedom, in terms of that aspect. I think the business thing is kind of crucial. I think owning an asset, whether it be a business, I think that's crucial, the most more freedom. Okay, guys, if you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. Check out my links below if you want to help support the channel. All right, guys, have a good one. Good weekend. Bye.